Heather, if there's one message you'd like people to take away from this episode, what might it be?
The main thing that I would love people to know is to be more of yourself. And what I mean by that, and I don't want you to take it as a little buzz, crazy sentence word that's floating around, but I genuinely mean that. I've worked with incredible, powerful people, and I've seen way too many people say, I want to be another Tony Robbins. I want to be another Oprah over the years. And when you're attached to trying to be someone else rather than looking inward and developing who you are, you can get stuck in not a very happy place or way to live. So find out who you are and be more of you.
So for people who haven't encountered your work yet, perhaps you could share a little bit about what you do and who you are.
Absolutely. So the current Heather, I do digital marketing, and I've done that for probably close to 15 years. But I think I'll step back really quickly and explain where I came from, because I think a lot of people will resonate with the accidental entrepreneur story. And I used to work in the personal development industry. I used to work for a speaker named Tony Robbins and many other speakers in that space, running big, huge seminars. And what happened is when 2008 came around and Facebook was on the scene, and websites became a thing and membership portals and all of that, one of the speakers I was working with said to me, Heather, I really want to give my message out there to the world 24/7. Not just when I'm on the stage in a room, a seminar room. How do I do it? So that's when I was like, interesting question. I always like good challenges. And I thought, let's do a membership site and let's sell courses and things like that. And let's use social media. And right around that time, there was a website we launched with 18,000 members. And Brad, I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. We can have big, massive reach with our message to the right market at the right time. And I left behind running events. And that's when I fell into the digital marketing space. I didn't know I was going to do this. I didn't know that this was my calling. But I've been doing it ever since. And I have an agency and I teach. I'm a trainer for Meta, aka Facebook. There's 4 of us in Australia, and I teach on behalf of Meta. And I also teach digital marketing, content marketing, social media marketing at a Center for Continuing Education at the University of Sydney, which is kind of like their upskilling division. And that's kind of how I fell into what I do, because I could see the power in it for people.
Excellent. And your books and podcast?
Yes, thank you. So just over the years, I'm a big tester of getting messages out there in the best way. So I've been co-author of several books. One of them became a Kindle #1 bestseller. And like you, I love to have amazing conversations with people that are all over the world. And so I started my podcast called The Hustle Rebellion, which you have been on. And it is all around individuals. How do we grow our businesses smarter and get through those really tricky times of overwhelm and stress and anxiety and come out the other side better?
Excellent. So what is the current state of digital marketing?
So it's very interesting because there's 2 paths that we could talk about. One is AI. So many people are using AI, ChatGPT, other channels that are out there to create captions and content. And what's interesting about that, although it works incredibly well, is there's a flip side. And that is being really, really true and authentic and vulnerable with your messaging. Because as we go into the ease of creating content, there'll be more and more content, more and more noise. So the flip side is, how do we get comfortable being inside or in front of cameras and do video? Because right now in social media marketing specifically, the winning ads that I do for clients and myself, the winning promotions are video of yourself and video of your clients candidly in front of your phone, your smartphone, filming content.
Interesting. So AI is one pathway. The other is authentic content.
Yes.
SEO, all of these paid ads, etc., less effective than they used to be.
Getting harder getting harder. So SEO definitely is a long-term play. SEO is keywords, right? So it's what people search for in Google, and it's hoping that your website's going to come up for those specific phrases. But it's very competitive. There's so many websites out there. So it is, when I say long-term play, it's like you research keywords, you create good content, you try and get on other people's websites linked back to yours. I've had people come to me and they're like, Heather, I'm spending $1,500 or $2,000 or $5,000 a month for an SEO agency, and I don't see any results because it takes a long time and it can be expensive. But yes, it does work for sure. Over time, it can work. So that's important to consider. But there's all these other facets of marketing that are important to take on. And one thing I love to do with people is I really do like the ads side of marketing, boosted posts or Facebook ads, even tried TikTok ads or Pinterest ads or whatever. But the reason why that they're amazing is because you get to test your message. So let's say you have a launch coming up or a product or something that you might want to try, like a side business that you might want to try and launch, and you're confused, like, who should I talk to? What should I say? What should my messaging be? You can very quickly and very easily create 5 videos and put them out on Facebook or Instagram and make them into an ad and just see which message actually do people resonate with the most. And very quickly, you'll know what direction to take it in. I like SEO, it's important for long term, but the shorter term things like where in immediate ROI would be things like ads, for example.
And as you said, it doesn't have to be super high end in terms of production. You can actually do it with your phone.
Absolutely. And with working for Meta in the way I do like the case studies I get access to. And one thing that they always say to me is the first 3 seconds of the video is most important. And they obviously see that from their millions of accounts on what works. And that is because if we're scrolling in our apps, you're just brainlessly kind of scrolling over the top of things. You've hit this pattern of subconscious flow, right? You just scroll, boring, scroll. And it's those first 3 seconds that hook somebody in to stop the scroll. I call it a pattern interrupt, right? So you're breaking the pattern of the scroll. And those 3 seconds are important. So what's great about this is that no, you don't want your logo coming up on the screen. You don't want some posh, really fantastic B-roll footage, with drones or anything like that. It's you walking and talking. It's you come with me or come into this room, or you're on a whiteboard, or you have a person, a customer talking. Movement, interesting movement at the start is always what you want. And you can do that really easily on your phone.
Of course, if you do have an unlimited budget, go high end, but
Yeah,
use the same principles of movement and catch the attention with, I don't know. So I guess the call to action comes at the very beginning in some way to interrupt their scrolling.
Yeah, we call it a hook, a marketing hook. So a really cool thing, really great exercise I do with people is I'll do keyword research. So I'll find out what people are searching for. What do they want to know about? And then we use headline formulas. And this is where you can use AI, can work really well.
Yes.
You say, hey, AI, hey, ChatGPT, here's some keywords. I want you to come up with 10 marketing hooks, like sentences, opening sentences that I could use in videos for ads or social media. And oftentimes I'll even say the words like come up with a viral hook because it'll make it kind of get more creative. But yeah, you can have these fascinating combination. You give the phrases and the search that people want to know about, and it will come up with ideas for that opening sentence. And that is essentially like, anything from, are you, in your 20s and feeling completely lost? This one thing will help you find your way. Like those are hooks, right? So yeah, it is kind of preluding to what the call to action will be, like you said.
How do you reassure people who are perhaps a founder or a business owner who say, I can never get in front of a camera. It's just, I'm so embarrassed. I hate seeing myself, etc.
I love this so much. Okay. So there's a woman I'm working with the other day, and she's that person. She hates it. And she's like, no, I'm not going to do it. So I said, okay, we're going to do an experiment. I want you to record your voice. Just record it on your phone, or if you have a microphone on your computer, record it. We worked on a little bit of a script, and it educated people in her business. And she goes, I hate my voice. Please, I don't want to use it. I'm like, you're not going to be on camera, but let's get your voice. So we tested 10 ads. Guess which one won? The voice. Her
The
voice.
voice.
We didn't film her face though. So what we did instead is we had like we call it B-roll footage or filler footage, right? So she does dance studios around Australia, and she had a whole bunch of students in one of the studios, and then she had people walking into the studio and showed the community and showed what it was like to be part of that community with her voice overlaid over the top, walking through what it's like. And we tested that against another video without her voice, with just text overlays saying the same thing. And all the time her voice wins. So I think the key here, you guys, is how do you feel comfortable sharing your voice? And is it just your voice, or can you get in front of the camera? It's not all about just a talking head to the camera anymore. You can be quite creative with your messaging.
Absolutely. People can still thankfully detect AI generated content. I know when I land on a YouTube video and it's fully AI with an AI narration, there's something about it that's just not quite right. Whereas when you find a person with their flaws and their ums and potentially a few filler words, it just feels better in some way. And that's not to say AI won't get to the point where it replicates a human almost perfectly. Just get out there, I suppose. Be the ambassador for whatever it is that you're creating.
Be the ambassador. Why? Yeah. Think about why you're creating it. Like those people that need your message, just think of them. Don't think of yourself. Step out of yourself. And I know this is hard, but do your best to not get attached to your content. Just film stuff. Just do weird and wacky and wonderful things. Oftentimes the stuff that you get most attached to and you're thinking, this is brilliant, people are going to love this, they're actually the messages that people don't respond to. Another example, there's somebody that is in the health and wellness space. They have a gym in Australia, and the founder is like, well, we're going to film all these videos and we're going to talk about how amazing the programs are that we have. They filmed up, or they strapped a microphone to one of their trainers, and they said, okay, just walk around the gym and just be you. Be you. Don't even talk to the camera. That one won as far as all the testing. Just one of the trainers mic'd up, having a laugh. Hey guys, how's it going? Like, weird, wacky, wonderful tests is what works best, because you just don't know what people are going to respond to. And that's why the best thing is to not get too attached and just always think, this is fun. This is creative. Let's play. Let's create new fun ideas and concepts.
What about the fear of receiving negative or critical comments?
Yeah, they're there, as you know. They are there. It's sad. It's sad how mean people can be too online. Gosh. Okay, a couple things. Number one, it depends on your resources. If you have a team around you, you can train your team to protect you. Yeah. And a lot of people that are in the space of thought leaders or ambassadors, they will not ever look at their comments. I do this sometimes with my team, and I'll say to my team member Prue, I'll say, Prue, always send me screenshots of really great comments. That's all I want to see. I just want to know I'm on the right track. And just filter, make sure that you're looking at what's going to light you up and keep you going. Because as we know, as human beings, we can oftentimes get absolutely obsessed with the one negative comment and forget the 10 wonderful ones.
It's the negativity bias is so strong. I mean, I've had a few comments. I wrote a blog post and it went super viral. I mean, this post, because there was basically a Joe Rogan interview with this guy called Terrence Howard, and he's got some really interesting theories about the universe and the nature of reality and so forth. So I tried to distill the essence of his ideas into a blog post, and it just hit number one within hours. And my traffic, I had like 30,000 visitors on day one, and I should have had some kind of lead magnet for this because, of course, it tapers off. But later on, in my own comments, people were criticizing me. Oh, this is the guy who loves Terrence Howard. and it hurts. You're like, really? I just wrote a blog post because it was interesting. Why are you being so mean? Yeah. But you just have to shrug it off and realize if you want to do anything there's going to be people who don't like you. And in fact, a measure of success is how many people disagree in some ways.
I love that you said that. Embrace it. It's like a celebration that you've officially arrived.
Exactly. Yeah. And I also think that just being authentic, I mean, people can criticize the authentic you, but if it's really you, well, that's how it is. At least you're doing something in the world. They're probably just scrolling.
Yeah. Well said. I love that.
So in terms of building a business that supports the lifestyle you want, what are some of those key steps in that mission, which most people are, or many people are searching for?
I love this question so much. Thank you for asking it, because oftentimes what will happen if you are starting a business or that sort of startup growth phase is that you start to say yes to a whole bunch of things you shouldn't, because you're just like, oh, I'm going to figure this out and I'm just going to say yes and take on projects. But what is never done is to create a vehicle for the lifestyle that you want. So a business model for what you want. So many people think, oh, I must be, share working or co-working place, or I need my own office, or I need my own team, or like you kind of look for what else is out there and just grab it and run with it, rather than saying, okay, either I want an office or I don't. I want to travel or I don't. I want to be the face or I don't. So you want to literally map out what you personally want, and then you build a business model around that. And the biggest thing I've seen from working with so many entrepreneurs is that most people confuse and complicate things and offer too much at the start to too many, rather than just starting with one core signature product or service and getting really, really good at that. And again, thinking through what that means. Are you wanting to be involved in that? Are you not? Like, what's your role? Really, what lights you up? And then once you know that, you build the business and the offerings around that.
And getting clear about what it is that you're providing to the world. If there are lots of things you could do, is that also a case of just testing the market, finding product market fit or service market fit?
Yeah, exactly. Testing and measuring is everything. And also staying more niche is good. To a point. I'll give you a really cool example. This one's been hanging in my mind quite a bit lately because it's similar to what I do. And this guy had a digital agency, really run down, really going through like a anxiety attack. He was trying to be everything to everyone. And he sat back one day and he's like, what do I like to do? I forgot. What is it? He's like, you know what I like to do? I like to take thought leaders, change makers, people that are doing really good things on this planet, and I like to get their message out on LinkedIn. That's what he's just, I like LinkedIn. I like this channel. I really like what can happen here because there's so many powerful people on this channel. So he's like, that's what I like. So if that's what I like, why don't we just try a crazy experiment and just start to do that? So he became the LinkedIn agency, and now he works with incredibly powerful people all over the world. He has a waiting list. And instead of having ads here and Google ads and this and that, he just does a very simple funnel as well. He does live events where it's almost like a dual testing ground where they get to test him and he gets to test you. So it's live little events, and he does these globally as sort of a audition to then go into his services. So he said, it's funny, he had this like epiphany moment where he's like, I can't keep going the way I'm going. How do I rekindle who I am and get really good at just that? And that's, I guess, when I say niching, it's almost like simplifying your offering to grow, because he works also with quite a diverse range of people. It's not necessarily that that's the niche as much as more that he is sticking with one core offering.
That's a great story. Yeah, really specialize, become the person owning that space, or one of the people owning that space. Do live events for lead generation still work?
The majority of where I get my business is when I speak, because I think the thing with that is we get to see the energy of the person, we get to meet the person. There's no hiding behind fancy ads, so to speak, especially if you're selling high ticket services and more partnership services. They do work. I can say that from just my where a lot of my business comes. It's harder to fill events these days. Like right now, I'm doing some testing in my own business with webinars and a live event. It can be a little bit more challenging, I think, especially with the noise that's out there and trying to break through the ads and just how you fill the rooms. So is it work? Yes, absolutely. I've seen it hands down work. Is it kind of difficult to fill? Yes. And can it take time? Yes. And that's marketing, and that's business, and that's life. And it's just understanding, if you want to launch an event tomorrow, then are you going to get the 200 people that you want in the future straight away? Probably not, but that's cool. Don't worry about it. Everyone starts somewhere. I remember my way back in the day working for Tony Robbins. He's like, my first events were in my house, in my living room. I had 5 people.
And that's probably the way to start. Like, you don't want to, okay, if you're just starting off on your business journey, filling a room with 200 people, 1, it's hard. 2, it's going to be pretty scary if you haven't done that before. So probably do start with 5 people in your living room and iron out all the kinks before you start getting scale.
Yeah, exactly right. And realize that those 5 people know 5 people that know 5 people that know 5 people.
Yeah. That's very much the story of Resilience Institute, which is my other project on the side. Well, no, it's the main thing I do. It's not a side project, or maybe one day. But it's that's the story of the organization's growth. It's, provide an amazing training and technology experience, and people take us from company to company to company and recommend to their spouses, and it's organic. But the problem with that is you don't get the exponential growth. And everyone wants exponential growth, especially when investors are involved.
True.
And finding that lever or the catalyst for exponential growth, I mean, if there was a formula for that, we would all be very happy, right?
That's right. That's right. And that's where, being resilient and sticking with it and not giving up. Like you said, if it was easy to have that growth or easy to have a business, everyone would be doing it. But that's the nature. It's more like, not to sound cliche, but it's more the journey really along the way, on getting you there. It makes me think of my older business. I had another agency and we grew really quickly, and we had, we outsourced. We had a team in the Philippines at that time, and the business failed. And I basically had, I had a business partner, and I was holding up the ship, so to speak. And I was not doing well physically and mentally. And I really beat myself up, Brad, when it failed. Like I really thought, I'm a failure. But then a friend of mine pulled me aside and she said, hold on. She said, this is just a stepping stone. How are you going to know in the future what you want and what you don't want if you didn't have this experience, from business partners to staff to team to business models? She's like, you have to look at it differently. And I think that's the key, is like sticking with what you're doing and reframing it as you go along the journey, to understand that these are stepping stones to get you to where you need to be, not failures.
Growth mindset, right? It's kind of like, I'm learning from this. What can I take from this experience? Even if you've invested a year or 2, you've learned lessons that will enable you to be more effective next time, or at least to be able to not make the same mistakes again.
That's right. That's right. Love that.
How important is a personal brand for a business owner?
More and more important than ever, in most cases. I always say in most cases, because obviously we're not talking blanket statements. But the key is this: if you think about who you do business with, you do business with people that you know, like, and trust. And that is the brand. That's the personal brand. So if you're a massive company with 300 employees, let's say as an example, because I'm thinking of a girlfriend of mine with a company like that, then she has the different department heads and different touch points in the business. They become personal brands, because she can't be the personal brand across the board to everyone. But it is giving a face to a business that's so important. And even just going to fundamentals there, where all the websites and the campaigns that I'm a part of, there are top visited pages on a website. One of the most top visited pages past the homepage is the about page. No surprise. People want to know who's behind the business. And so that's where we have a really big opportunity to shine and position ourselves as a brand and not just the business as a brand.
Yeah. I've actually noticed even large consulting firms allowing people within their organization to have a personal brand, in fact, encouraging it, because they become a thought leader, they've got their own community, and that's good for the firm. Any tips for creating a strong personal brand?
So an easy place to start with, I suppose, is to look at two things. So who are you and how you communicate naturally? And that's the key. Are you quirky? Are you funny? Are you dry? Like who are you naturally? Because that's what you want to carry on to your writing, your content, the stuff you put out there publicly. You don't want to pretend to be someone that you're not. And then secondly, what do you stand for? If you could think about the industry that you're in, what change would you like to see happen in your space? What innovations would you like to have happen? And you can speak to those. So that's a really great place to start. It's with your personality. And then what change do you want? And then that silos you down into what statistics you can share, what case studies you can share, what interesting news studies you can share. And you can just initially start as being a reporter of news. That's how I started way back in the day. I took what was happening on Twitter and Facebook, and I literally would go into every week what was going on, and I'd go into YouTube and I'd say, this week in Facebook, this is what's happened in my own personality. And I report on news in my industry. And then I started to develop a bit of a brand of, I know what happens in that space. So that's an easy place to start because it's comfortable, because you're being you and you're just kind of reporting on stuff that's out there under your own lens of where you want change in your industry. And from there, you'll get more and more comfortable to hopefully do what we call BTS content, or behind the scenes, where you might be brave enough to go, look, I'm reading this book, or look at the gym session I'm doing, or look, I'm walking into my office. Here's what I do in my office. But I find starting with the behind the scenes, everyone goes, do your behind the scenes and your storytelling. A lot of people go, where, how? I'm confused.
Yes. I haven't even got to that point yet. I have to admit, I'm still, I feel like maybe that's next step, and I'm not sure why, because I do go to some interesting places where I certainly think like, I could just pick up the phone, but then I'm always like, I could do it better if I get my proper Sony A7 out and some lighting and all.
I know.
And then you create a mountain and you never end up doing it. So I suppose it's just a case of just getting started. See how it goes. What's the worst that can happen? Delete the clip.
Yeah, exactly right. So good. And knowing that the most popular clips that are out there are just, the real ones. They are the real ones. And that's not from me saying, that's from the almighty Meta, right? Saying we're analyzing all the different videos and the accounts that work the best. All of them, the videos that are most real, most normal are the ones that work.
And picking a channel, it's all about understanding your audience. So if you're providing B2B services, maybe don't worry about TikTok too much. Or, I mean, what are your thoughts?
Depends. It depends.
Tell me more.
Okay. Yeah, we'll tell you more. So a friend of mine, Jackson, who is all B2B. So he does sort of has investment accounting companies. He has 4 companies in the financial space. So I was talking to him and I'm like, where are you doing your marketing? He goes, you'll never believe this. You'll never believe it's TikTok. He's like, I'm not kidding. B2B on TikTok. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he said, I'm doing short educational videos. That's it. He's like, he lives up in Queensland. So he does like interesting little hooks at the beginning where he might show like a wild animal or like a cool beach view and then kind of pan to himself. But he's just really casually talking about, hey, are you in business and you need to look at this tax thing or whatever he talks about. He's getting a huge amount of leads from TikTok. So I know, which means, by the way, Brad, I'm going to start to do more and more testing in that space because I'm fascinated by this. But ultimately, here's what we think about, right? So we notoriously know LinkedIn as being a B2B space. It's where professionals hang out. But aren't we all just people having other accounts anyway, in the end, in our own personal time, scrolling through Instagram or TikTok? So what's not to say if we do really valuable, great content, it won't work there either. And I think that's the key, is testing new places, but definitely stick with one to start where you know your market is hanging out.
That's good advice. I actually found I've experimented with TikTok a few times, and you get way more traction immediately, organically, than other platforms.
Yeah, you totally do. And there are ads platforms up and coming too with better targeting. But yeah, I mean, it's still on the rise and it has the best algorithms. Even Instagram's jealous. I was meeting with their team and they're like, yeah, don't tell anyone, but we really like the TikTok algorithms, like the best in the world. You can literally train TikTok in 24 to 48 hours exactly what you want to see. And it's ridiculously good at giving you that content.
Wow.
So they're growing. They're still on the rise.
Scary and cool.
Yes. Agree.
Scary for people who have a tendency to become addicted to social media, but for everyone else and from a business perspective, what an amazing opportunity is there.
It really, really is, for sure.
I love that. Websites. There are many platforms. Many people will go straight to a DIY solution. In my experience, that's not always a good idea. What are your thoughts in terms of a scalable platform that's easy to manage and easy to get built in the beginning?
Good question. If you're selling products, it tends to be Shopify just because it's built for e-commerce and it has all the extra bells and whistles that you need as you scale. And I think that's the key. You want to build on something that you can scale with. And so for products, it's that one. I still really like WordPress for the service side. And the reason why is the same thing. It's a brilliant foundation that you can scale into. To give you an example, I mean, there's some of the biggest colleges and universities and training institutes that build on that. And the reason why is because not only can you have all your core pages, your blog, you can have a podcast that links across to all the podcasting channels, but you can also build hidden pages and training modules, and it can be done all in the same place. And you can grow and scale into it. It's great for SEO. It's highly customizable. So I do tend to lean towards those. And I love what you said, Brad, as well as about the DIY. Look, if it's a difference of you just getting something out there and not, just do it. Go to Squarespace, go to Wix, get something up. I find that obviously momentum breeds momentum. So just do it. And then there will be a time where you're going to need strategy and structure. A big part of what I do every single day is I'm analyzing analytics, and I'm in what are called heat mapping tools, which are essentially visual tools to show exactly what users are doing on your website. And you're constantly testing and looking at what can we improve and then tweaking that. And that is the next phase. Once you get something out there, you now need to analyze, test and measure, and start to get better results for conversion. And that's where you eventually go. And that's where the experts come in, right? That's where you you should not do that unless you're a data analyst or this is like something you want to learn. But as a starting point, look, it depends on resources. If you do have the resources to get some professional help from the start, do it, because then they're going to look at a combination of user experience, which is your keywords, your user pathways on your website to support people that visit. They're going to look at user interface, which is your design side. They're going to look at it strategically to deliver you clients. Hopefully that answered the question. A couple options.
It really did. And I have to say, in my own experience, so here's a little secret. I've probably designed and launched maybe a couple of 100 WordPress sites for clients when I had a digital agency in Australia many years ago. I love WordPress. It's grown so much. We recently launched a major upgrade to the Resilience Institute website using Webflow, and I really don't like it. It's so fiddly and things break, and it's just I really think WordPress is a great place to start and get professional help. You know, as you said, a professional will be able to help you design that user experience and arrange the information in a way that makes sense. They've done this many times, so they understand a user's perspective, whereas you might be a bit close to what you do. And the tendency for business owners is to fill the space with as much text and as much color and as many images as possible. You'll know this very well, when actually sometimes you just want lots of white space.
Yes, it's actually a proven conversion tactic right there. It's the space that matters, because 20% of content on a page is all that, if you're lucky, that somebody's going to consume. They scroll, everyone scrolls. Like we scroll in the feeds. We're trained to just be scrollers. It's the space that converts, like you said, rather than the chaos in the design.
And that's a good metaphor for life. Amidst the chaos of life, create space, because it's in those spacious moments that you get to have your creative thoughts. So jump off the hamster wheel from time to time.
Yeah. Well said.
How can someone autopilot their business? And I know you've written a book about this, and I was really interested to just get some perspectives from you.
Well, it's all around automation. That's the key. It's essentially, I see it done back to front sometimes, because automation is like all about, let's automate your systems, right? Everyone's talking about it. The worst thing you can do is do it too early. So what you want to do is get something that actually is selling and converting well first. Your marketing funnel, your systems, we want to understand what's actually working. And then you build the systems and the automation around that to support you. So for example, if you are doing, let's say, webinars online, so live masterclasses, you'd want to do those live for quite a period of time until you know what resonates, until you understand what people want. And then you might take your best converting one and make it automated. So therefore, you would have an automated webinar where you have automated emails, and it actually is a pre-recorded video, for example. It's a very simple example. But everything you look at what's working, and then you build systems around it, from email automations to automating your reporting to setting up templates in your project management tools. But the idea is that you build systems on what works. That's the most important thing. I've seen way too many people get really excited and go, let's automate this. And you're like, what are you actually automating?
Yeah, building a beast of a system with so many workflows that never end up getting used, because what you discover later on is customers pretty much go down one linear path, or every job is so custom that it doesn't fit into a workflow. So you've just created a nightmare for yourself and for your prospects. Yeah.
Two things that come to mind on that, and one of it is CRM systems, like the HubSpots of the world, where people get roped in by really good marketing, and they're like, "This looks amazing. It's going to automate and grow my business for me," because that's how the marketing works. And then they're in there, and they literally just send out an email every week, or and that's one. The second one is, I think about reporting as a big one too. A friend of mine who owns a big outsourcing company, she goes, Heather, I'm so confused. My team brings me a 20-page report every month, and I actually have no idea what I'm looking at. I'm like, well, that's the automation at work for you. She literally scaled it back. Here, it's a little Google sheet, and it has like 4 sections. It's like, how many sales calls, how many converted, where did that traffic come from? Is my email list growing? Is it decreasing? It's so basic. And I think that's the key. Like you said, we're building big machines around us that are not necessary.
I love that. Keep it simple. If someone out there is a budding influencer, for example, how important is an email list and trying to build a community?
Really, really important. And another beautiful question from you, because if you're building your brand on borrowed land, such as Facebook or Instagram, you could get hacked, you could get shut down. There's people that say things that other people don't like, and then they hit the button like, ban this account or report this account. I see it time and time again when people build up these big followings, and then overnight they lose them. So you want to control your space. So if you are building to be an influencer, you still want a home base. And a home base looks like a website and an email list, something that you own and something that you can control. There are more and more sort of third-party communities up and coming past Facebook groups. Like there's a new one, it's all the rage right now, called School, SKOOL.
Yeah,
Everyone's
yeah,
talking about that.
yeah.
So these are there's Circle, there's all these other softwares that you can actually move your community into. I think the trickiest thing is, again, like the other day I was working with someone and they had a Facebook page, they had a Facebook group, they were hacked. They can't get it back. They've been trying for 6 months to get their community back. And it's like, where do you go with this? I mean, you want to utilize tools that are out there that people are comfortable with going to, like a Facebook group, but you also need to control it. So you always want to think, how am I going to limit the risk around this? And how am I actually ultimately collecting email addresses and controlling that environment for my own self?
And be careful with your passwords. Don't use the same password on every account, because you will get hacked at some point.
You will. And two-step verification. Please, everyone, go do it now.
Yeah.
Get out there and get the Authy app or whatever app you use. Oh my gosh, it's so horrible to see everything. So many people come to me, I'm hacked again. What do I do? I lost everything. It's like, no.
Yeah, that's not good. Building an email list, any tips for actually increasing the number of subscribers? Of course, you're relying on organic traffic and having forms and maybe some pop-ups, but any other thoughts?
Yeah, a few things. So you can definitely build your list from your website, like you're saying, where you have different resources that people can sign up for and download, such as, webinars or checklists or Rolodexes or, tools essentially that you share in exchange for an email address. That can all happen on your website, but also going off to other channels and even starting direct messaging or DMs. So I've seen this work really well on LinkedIn, for example, where you can say, for example, I've just created a case study or a checklist or whatever it is in your space. Who would like it? If anyone would like it, just say, yes, please. And then I'll direct message you with that information. So you can actually start conversations on social media. Who wants this? Let's have a chat. And you're also not only getting their contact details to send it to them, but you're actually starting a conversation, which is pretty cool. And there's a whole movement in marketing called sell by chat. And that's essentially what that means, is where you start conversations on socials with DMs, you give something valuable, and then you start to have a more of a deeper level conversation. So be creative. You can definitely do it on your site, but you can start conversations offsite as well.
Great idea. What about your time working with people like Tony Robbins and others in that space? Tell us a bit more about what that was like.
It was amazing. I learned a lot. So one of my favorite business philosophies I learned was from Tony, and it is CANI, CANI, constant and never-ending improvement. He never expected perfection. On the contrary, he didn't want it. He wanted always people trying new things, doing new things, because there's no such thing as perfection. So what I learned with that is that it was a work environment where people would just come with new offerings and new ideas. And, hey, why, when we're in Hawaii and we're doing an event in Hawaii for Tony, let's have Tony slide in down a, what are those called? Zip line, which we did, by the way. One of the events. Yeah.
So cool.
One of the team is like, let's get Tony on a zip line.
What did he say?
We're all like, yeah, why not? And then he's like, I'll do it. He got stuck. When he was coming out.
Really?
He was literally ziplining in across the room. Crazy. But like, it's just, it was an opportunity or an environment that actually applauded weird and wacky and wonderful ideas. And I really liked that from working there. That was something that I learned from him. I think from some of the other speakers that I've worked with, the speakers that genuinely have an incredible presence of being in right here in the moment right now is the best. I think back to multiple speakers. And what I mean by that is, for example, one of them named Chris Howard, we were at an event and he had the whole queue. We had 5,000 people in the audience. I think we were in the UK at the time. There's a queue of people, 50 people deep. And at that time, my role was to stand next to him and make sure that he got through the line. And I remember it because he would get so engrossed in that person in front of him. I was the only person that existed at that moment. And it was incredible to watch. And that's why he needed somebody like me to go, okay, done, next.
Yes.
And I found that the powerful speakers that I've worked with, the ones that I've really enjoyed my time with, were like that to every single human being, whether it was a participant, whether it was the janitor, whether it was their head of ops. Presence with that person was something that I learned a great deal. And to this day, I pride myself on trying to do that with my team whenever possible, and being a great listener as well.
Well, I was actually going to say to you, you exude that quality.
Oh, thank you.
You do.
Rubbed off on me.
What brings you fulfillment in your work life outside of the digital world?
I love travel. I love, every year I have to see a new country and do new things. I'm more of an adventure traveler rather than like a fancy hotel traveler.
Mm-hmm.
I like to be in and amongst cultures and people that I love, lights me up so much. Learning, I am forever a student. I get so excited when a book comes in the mail, or when I sign up to do some upskilling myself or train. I'm like, oh my God, I have this new thing I can learn. I'm always, like many people that love to learn, in that tricky, sticky spot of learning and doing, taking actionables and doing those things, because that can be challenging for those of us that love to learn.
Yeah, absolutely. No, same, very similar to my passions. What are some of your favorite places when you think back? If you had to go to 2 places again and that's all you could ever do, where would you go?
Okay, 2 very different ones. The thing that sticks in my mind a great deal is Mongolia.
Really?
So it was fascinating, a fascinating, untouched country. So, almost like you're on a different planet. That was amazing. And on the other side of that, I absolutely adore Italy. I love the people, the culture, the food, the landscape, and the different areas. So gives you kind of a bit of a range on what I'm interested in.
And everything in between.
Exactly.
Yes, I love that. I love that. So how can people find out more and connect with you? Where would you like them to go?
Thank you. Website Love, my business name, websitelove.com.au. There is a menu item on there that says free resources. I have trainings, I have my podcast, I have all sorts of really fun little tangible takeaways that will help you in your journey of growing your business, specifically in marketing as well, and getting your message out there to the world. So that would be the best place to come and hang out.
Perfect. That is exciting. Those links will be in the show notes. Everyone, please do check them out. And any final thoughts for those who stuck with us all the way to the end?
It will take longer than you think. And I don't mean that in a bad way. So it's a different way, Brad, of saying don't give up. But I do want to reframe it in that way, because it will take longer than you think. I wish I could remember the quote from Tony Robbins, my old boss. He would say something like, you accomplish more in 10 years than you think you can accomplish more in a year, but you accomplish way more in 10 years. I think
Yes.
You know the quote. I butchered the hell out of it.
You're on the right track. Exactly.
I'm on the track. The idea is this: don't give up, you guys. But ultimately, it's going to take time. Test, measure, use data. Get excited about the fact that, especially in business, it's all an experiment. It is the chance to try new things and not get disappointed because one thing didn't work. It's just looking at it going, oh, that didn't work. On to the next. Have fun with it. It's a really cool journey to take.
Thank you so much. Everyone, please do click the links in the show notes. As I said before, connect with Heather. You're on Instagram and LinkedIn, etc.
I'm on both, and you can just search my name on those, Heather Porter, and you'll find me on those as well. And I'm active on all of them.
Excellent. All right, everyone. That was an excellent episode. I've learned a lot. I'm going to go and start planning on how I can upgrade my mailing list and various other things that we've talked about. We'll see you in the next episode. See you, Heather.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.